All right, Saagar, what are you looking at?
I'm not being hyperbolic here. It really does feel like everything is falling apart. Gas, all-time high. Diesel, all-time high. Can't buy a new car or a house if your life depended on it. There's a supply chain crunch on stuff that people need to keep tiny infants alive. The entire political system is broken. A geriatric president presides over the most chaotic period in modern American history, with no plan, no ability to unite the country, and seemingly do anything about it. I'm really struck by the feelings of chaos with a new poll. It found that only 16% of Americans think that the country is on the right track, which is officially the 13-year low in the history of NBC News. Americans are not stupid people. They know in their bones everything is wrong. They've known it for quite some time. And look, there's plenty of debate as to why all that is. But one thing I think we can all agree on is that the White House strategy of blaming it all on Vladimir Putin is not only intellectually dishonest, extremely cringe, but also just wrong. This idiotic talking point, though, has permeated all Democratic messaging, though, in recent weeks.
Let me start with the Putin price hike.
So because of the actions we've taken to address the Putin price hike, we are in a better place than we were last month. We expect March CPI headline inflation to be extraordinarily elevated due to Putin's price hike.
We have to address the Putin price hike, gas hike. It has, since he started amassing troops earlier this year, the price at the pump has gone up 75 cents. We're doing everything we can to minimize the Putin price hike at home.
What especially this reveals is the idiocy of the Putin price hike talking point. Of all the talking points out there, this is the one the American people buy the least. It is also least likely to be true. Most people think COVID, supply chain disruptions, corporations, and the American Rescue Plan are more to blame for inflation than, you guessed it, the war in Ukraine. So in other words, Putin's price hike is both the least credible and least believed option by the American people, and thus, of course, it remains the singular talking point of this administration. The cringeworthiness of Putin's price hike reveals something deep about the Biden administration. They really think we are this stupid, dumb enough to be cajoled into an easy explanation when the multifaceted one has been staring every American in the face for over 2 years. Of course, it is no coincidence why they picked Putin's price hike either, because Putin is not named Biden, and a guy named Biden has something to say or do with every single other reason that I showed you on the previous chart of reasons why inflation is occurring. Worse, it demonstrates, at a very basic level, why are these people so bad at politics? Putin's price hike is obviously not it from a basic branding perspective. It is something I've noticed too in their latest cringe iteration that you may too have seen, one that Biden and the Democrats have been rolling out recently.
The Ultra MAGA Republicans who seem to control the Republican Party now. The other path is the Ultra MAGA plan.
But he's also not going to stand by and not call out what he sees as ultra MAGA behavior, ultra MAGA policies. If you're on the other side of that, you're supporting an ultra MAGA position in the president's view.
Ultra MAGA, where do they get this stuff from? According to the White House, Biden came up with it himself, with White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki even saying he came up with it to give his speech, quote, a little extra pop. Thus, we have been cursed with the phrase ultra MAGA dominating our political discourse for the last week. Except it turns out Biden and the Democrats not even come up with their own cringe slogans on their own, because it was quickly revealed it was all part of a bigger plan. The Washington Post reported that Biden's attempt to appropriate MAGA to Ultra MAGA was part of a 6-month research effort by liberal polling groups. Per the Post, Biden advisor Anita Dunn was at one point connected to Harvey Weinstein, did extensive polling how the word MAGA was viewed by the public. Other phrases they tested were Trump Republicans, and a piece of data inside their polling said it would be twice as many voters would be less likely to vote for someone who is described as a, quote, MAGA Republican. What Biden and the Dems don't foresee, though, is that Trump, apparently, per this story, is gleeful about the phrase, telling everyone around him he loves it, that the Democrats are terrible at branding, and actually, if you think about it, it helps him solidify his hold over the Republican Party, something Biden, of course, has said he would like to break away from. In fact, the Ultra MAGA label was trotted out to describe Senator Rick Scott's plan to raise taxes on the middle class and sunset Medicare. I mean, that's not Ultra MAGA. That's actually just standard Republican policy of the last 3 decades, all the way from Ronald Reagan to Paul Ryan. All this shows is the lack of imagination and political skill that the Biden team have. In their political strategy, they seem to take all the blame off of themselves and blame either Putin or Trump, or in some cases, both, instead of just making an affirmative case to the American people. It reveals they need poll-tested messages to try and shift blame when the only poll they need to look at is this one. Americans really hate inflation. 70% see it as a big problem, 23% a moderate problem. There is not a single other issue area that falls into that space. People don't want to hear excuses. Biden runs the country. His party holds the seats in Congress. Do something about it and you win. Don't and you lose. There is no slogan which can obfuscate the fact that gas, food, and everything else is a hell of a lot more expensive. Why exactly that is so difficult to understand over 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue remains quite a mystery to me. But I do know this. In November, we're going to be looking back at Biden's strategy at this time and call it that of an ultra loser. You see how cringe it is when you just add ultra on?
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.